It didn't crash the program. I'm so happy. Welcome to the 1000 Hour Challenge, a series where I will spend 1000 hours learning a skill of my choosing. My deadline is 2 years, and when 900 hours have passed, the last 100 will be spent on utilizing what I've learned to create something special. Hi, and welcome to the third episode. Well, this week I've tried a bunch of things that is not really for my level. It's been kind of hard for me to get the grasp of how to do these things, but I'm trying to get a hold of it anyways, and basically I just ended up copy pasting a lot of code. I started off trying to create a web scraper, and that just was too hard for me, so I had to move on and try to create something else instead. So I moved on to making a guided user interface, I think it's called a GUI. And when I made this GUI, I realized that it looks really professional, even though it's might look from the 90s. It's still something that I can actually look at. I no longer have to look into a console to see what I have done. So I keep coming back to this tic-tac-toe game. I thought it would be really cool to make a GUI tic-tac-toe game just to display what I've learned, and maybe this tic-tac-toe game can follow me through this journey, and it can become like 3D and really cool in the future. Who knows? Anyways, I started learning a GUI called Swing, and it didn't really look nice. Alright, that's all I had to say. Let's get into the progress video. Hello. So now we just started week 3, and before I dive into all the web scraping I was talking about in the last video, I am just going to revise and try to do some stuff that I've learned already to just get more fluent. And I'd like to take you along with me and just show you the basics of what I've learned so far. So right now it's pretty simple. What I know so far is how to create a new Java project, and I've done that already, and I named it week 3. And I know also how to create a class, just a main package, but I have no idea what I'm going to do. I think I am going to do a basic banking account, learning object-oriented programming, and just try and find my way and see how much I can do without looking at guides, and just from the top of my mind. So I named it random project, and I think I know how to create the main body. I think it's public static void main with string brackets args. I think that would work. Oh, of course I need to have this as a capital letter. There we go. So now I'm just gonna type some random stuff and be back in a bit. So this is my program, how it looks right now. I've been typing away for a while now, and even though it looks pretty cool, it doesn't really do anything, to be honest. I managed to break it a few times, and I'll show you how I did it. I'm trying to add some kind of safeguard to this, so I can't break the program, but obviously I can, because when I try to run it and I type, for example, 6, instead of showing me the valid number like it's supposed to say please choose a valid number. It doesn't, but the loop still continues, so that's good. However, if I type F, this happens, and it's supposed to protect me from this. It says here, if the scanner has an int, like a number, it's supposed to continue. Otherwise, it's supposed to print out what you wrote is not the number, try again. But obviously that's not what it's doing right now, so I guess I'll just have to keep trying. I think I'm gonna come back to this later, because obviously my knowledge of Java wasn't as good as I originally thought, so I'm just gonna keep learning and come back to it later. So I've been watching this video by Shane Lee about how to make a web scraper, and I just copied his code right off. I didn't create any of this myself, but it's actually working and it's really interesting. So for right now, I'm just learning how this works, and I'm intrigued how easy it is to just scrape the data. And I understand that this could be somewhat of a gray zone, but I am confident that for just educational purposes, this is very useful. So this is basically the website where I'm scraping the data off. It's just a basic Telegraph market share website, and I find it really interesting because in just a few lines of code, I mean it's only 39 lines, I can create a web scraper that works like this. And if you see here, these are the names and the values of the stocks. So after creating this web scraper, I realized that there's a lot of things that I still don't know, and rather than getting into the specifics, I would much rather move on to something that I think I will be able to understand. So therefore I decided to start making some graphical user interfaces. And by doing that, I can also make more interesting programs in the future. So therefore I will try to learn how to create some GUIs. I am back into my week 3 project when I'm trying to create a simple bank account. And remember earlier how I said that I couldn't get some safeguards going? Well, I just found out something amazing. I found that there is something called try and catch. And what this does is that instead of crashing the program, it will try the lines inside of the try brackets, and if it doesn't work, it will catch the error before the program crashes. So I'm gonna try to create one now just to see if it works. So this is the old thing I had. What you wrote is not a number, please try again, and break loop false, and yeah, this just looks really messy. So I'm gonna try to create something that actually work. Try this. And catch this. Oh, and I also need to write exception E. Yeah, that works. Let me try this again. Let's run this. It didn't crash the program. I'm so happy. I've been working with GUIs for a little while now, and I think it's super cool. I love that you can create something that you can see like physically with your eyes and you don't have to type into the console. This is just a simple program. I have gone through a few stuff I had to download from Eclipse, like the GUI framework and how you use it, but I think it turned out really nicely, except that it looks like it's coming straight out of Windows XP or even the 90s. So before we go into the program, I'm just gonna show you how it's done. It's basically like text and text numbers, frames, and some buttons, and props to you if you can figure out now just from looking at this what you're supposed to do. But anyways, I think it looks really cool, just like not the actual GUI itself, but just that you can create this stuff in Java. I never had this opportunity when I was programming in C. It never looked as good as it does now. But this is how it looks when it runs. Ta-da! Not very nice, but it does the job right. Anyways, this is just a basic calculator. 2 + 5 = 7 equals -3, and yeah, it doesn't stack, it just looks like this. And as I said, you probably understand now why it looks like it's from the 90s, but it's really cool, and I can't wait to see what more stuff you can make with this. 5 seconds later, 2 GUI searches later, and I realized that you can't do more stuff with this. You have to update your GUI program for it to actually look more modern. So I am moving away from Swing and I'm going to JavaFX. However, I don't have any more time though, so I'm gonna have to do it next week. Yeah, this is a spreadsheet. Just by looking at it, I get a bit stressed because I should be at least 3% right now, and I'm only at 2.01. I've spent 20 hours in 3 weeks, and I'm going to start my 4th one. So I'm not saying I blame my work, but I am saying I blame my work because I have to prioritize that first. One thing, if you noticed, I have changed the colors here. So instead of leaving some of them white, I've actually taken the time and put them in. I've also changed the name. It is no longer called Key Points Learned, but it's called Checklist, because I would like to have this as a checklist instead, because that makes more sense with the colors. The green is stuff I know 100%. The orange is things that I have learned quite a bit of, but I would still keep learning. And red is something that I have basically only scraped the surface of. And speaking of scraping, for example, web scraper is something I have only tried to make. As you saw earlier in the video, it was not very, well, should I say it, intuitive. It was just copy and pasting pretty much. So I kind of have the idea of what web scraping does, but I would in no world be able to create one if I started with a blank sheet. The same goes for example GUI and casting. This is really hard. I've only tried it like JavaFX, and I've only scraped the surface of Lambda expressions. But what my goal is that I want everything here to be green. Whenever I start something new or whenever I see something new, I would like to add it to the checklist of stuff that I would like to know. And once I know it 100%, I can change the color of it to green. That way I can keep track of what I know and what I don't know. At the time of recording this, I have uploaded number 0 and number 1 in my series. And I think that I would like to make this more user-friendly or watch-friendly for people that don't really know anything about coding. Hi, it's me from the future again. I'm sorry I had to stop you here, but I realized that I'm saying one thing while meaning the absolute opposite. What I actually mean is that I want to make it for programmers and not for people who don't know programming. So, as I'm going to explain in a little while, it's for people that know how to program or are interested in it, not for people who are not. Okay, thank you, bye. So I would like to kind of make it a tutorial and go over what I have learned in the way that I can explain it. So when I know something really well, I would like to explain it, because no matter how hard I try, I don't think I will reach a very broad audience learning Java. I mean, seriously, do you think that someone who doesn't know anything about coding is gonna want to watch me, no matter how general I make it? So I think I would just make it more focused and focus more on a focus group, and instead of just keeping it that broad, I would like to narrow it down a little bit. So in the future videos, I'm going to explain a little more in depth of my thinking and be a little more advanced in my explaining of things. So anyways, that's all I had for you this week. I think it was a really interesting episode, even though I didn't put in as much time as I wanted. But yeah, see you next week.